Gavin, thank you for joining me today for the OLED podcast.
It's a pleasure, James.
You've got an incredible backstory. A lot of the people I meet, they've recently trained to be a hypnotherapist, but you had a long career, corporate career, and then you flipped to learn hypnosis. Can you talk me through and tell me how that came about?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I spent more than 20 odd years in the professional services field. I was a director in global mobility, so that's helping companies move employees around the world globally. During my career, I enjoyed being a people manager, a mentor and a coach, so supporting people throughout those careers. And there came a point in my life, like many others, I guess, when I just wanted to do something else with my skills. And so here I am as a qualified hypnotherapist.
Did that decision come in a moment, or was it over weeks and months? I'm just fascinated.
Yeah, it was always brewing in the back of my mind. I wanted to change. I wanted to help people, and I wasn't sure exactly how would that manifest itself.
And why hypnosis, particularly as a...
There is a specific event. We were on a cruise a few years ago, obviously before COVID, and we went to see a show on the ship. It was a stage hypnotist, but he introduced himself as a life coach, as a hypnotherapist, which sort of piqued my interest.
Yeah.
And at the end of the show, he did something with the volunteers at the end of the show, which really blew my mind. I then just did some research, found a great training company, went to a taster day. I was hooked, and the rest is history.
What did he do at the end of the show?
Well, it's what we would know as post-hypnotic suggestions. Yes. So he turned to the audience and said, "This is the end of the show, but it's not the end of the show. For my volunteers, it will be the end of the show, because when they go back to their seats, Fred there, over a 2-minute period, every 20 seconds, he's going to stand up and go, 'The aliens are coming, the aliens are coming.'"
Yeah.
And that lady there, when she goes back to her seat, over a 2-minute period, every 20 seconds, she's going to see she's a librarian and go, "Shh." And usually on a cruise ship, at the end of the show, people go to get their seat at the bar or restaurant, but everyone was sat there watching, and what he said happened.
Yes.
And it was, wow. Yeah. Obviously now I know how that works, but to see it happening for the first time really made me think, that's what I'd like to.
I personally would encourage anybody who has any fascination in hypnosis or psychology to go and see a stage hypnotist, a good one.
A good one, absolutely, yeah.
Because even when I go doing this day in, day out, the difference between stage hypnosis and clinical hypnosis is massive.
Yeah.
But actually, there is some kind of like a Venn diagram, that middle area, that post-hypnotic suggestion. People who come up on stage can get tremendous benefit. I've seen people on stage, begin to stop smoking and all that, those journeys that they go in on.
Yeah.
Tell me about hypno-CBT. Sorry, hypno-EMDR.
Yeah. It was something I was always interested in, because I just wanted to add to my skill set, and I'd heard a lot about it. So again, I researched, the best training company that I thought would give me the skill set that I wanted. I just wanted something extra in my toolbox, if I could call it that I could help people, especially people that have had significant trauma in their life.
How does the hypno-EMDR help people with trauma?
It's very simply, you basically desensitize them from the original event or events, and then you reprocess their thinking about their experience of that event to make it more positive. That's essentially what you're doing, because what happens is when people have a trauma or significant negative event in their life, what happens, part of that experience isn't processed. So it remains there throughout the rest of their life, and it impacts negatively on certain aspects of their life.
Do we know which parts of the brain those traumas reside in? Is there any research on this?
There is research. I can't give you that information right here and right now, but there is absolutely research. Yeah.
Have you, I know you've only recently trained in that exciting area. Have you had clients for Hypnosis?
I haven't actually started to advertise for it yet. And I know OLED is going to be advertising it.
You're added on the website waiting for this cover. We offer EMDR already. Yeah. Incredible results. I mean, it's a well proven therapy that has incredible results. Discovered by accident, if I remember right.
Yeah.
The original lady who kind of initiated the program. It's phenomenal. But I think Hypno EMDR just sounds like a real powerhouse because you're combining two incredible therapies into one.
Absolutely.
And this is something you can offer online, yeah?
You can offer online, you can offer in person, and that's the beauty of hypnotherapy generally, and Hypno EMDR, the flexibility to do it in person, to do it online, depending if people like to come out of their own home to do face-to-face or they feel comfortable in their own home.
It's great that online has grown so much. Yeah, it's ridiculous. That's totally.
Yeah, it's just as sometimes even more effective because people are comfortable in their own home.
Yeah,
they're not stressed about traveling and coming to a strange therapy room. And so the whole process starts on good foot.
That's a really, really good point.
Yeah.
I'm a client coming to you.
Yeah.
And I've got a range of issues.
Yeah.
How would you start with a client? What's your kind of first approach?
My first approach is I've got a principle of unconditional positive regards. That's my first approach, which is basically whoever comes through my door, the proverbial door, if we're online, I'll be there. Yeah. I will do my utmost to help them. So that's a given. And the way to explain that is, I happen to be a Millwall football supporter. Our biggest rivals are West Ham.
Yeah.
So if a West Ham supporter came through the proverbial door, I wouldn't immediately go negative. I would just help them exactly the same as I would a Millwall supporter. So that's what I do. And then I guess it's just asking them open questions about the issues that they're coming to me for help with, so that together we can work out, okay, what's the most immediate and important one that they want help with.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people come through the door, they've got a range of issues, they think it's issue A, but by the time we talked it through, it happens to be issue X that they really want the help with.
Do you know, I was going to lead on to that. How often I've seen that the case, and hear that with the other therapists, when somebody builds up the courage to come and see the therapist, but often what they present with is either only the tip of the iceberg or something else, because I think sometimes people think their issue cannot be treated, it's untreatable.
Yeah.
And I think one of the great things about OLIP is when somebody picks up the phone or emails and comes in, because our range of therapists is so diverse that we have a specialist in that particular field.
Yeah.
I know I was talking to you about that earlier. Could you talk me through any of your success stories you've had with your clients? Obviously, confidentiality, but I always love hearing how somebody's come in and they have a particular issue, problem that they almost would think is beyond helping us solve it.
Yeah.
But in a few weeks or months, they're transformed. Have you done any?
No, I've got a couple that come to mind. There was a lady came to me. A young woman. This was at OLIP, who was going on holiday to Croatia, and for some reason she was feeling really nervous about the flight, and she was going with a new boyfriend, so she didn't want to, make that not a pleasant experience, and so she wanted help with that. It was only 3 weeks before she was going.
Okay.
So we had 3 in succession sessions, and when she came back, she said it was great. She had no issue getting on the plane. She had a fabulous holiday, and that was really quick, really immediate, and really, really practical.
Yeah.
It was a practical thing. Some other things that I help people with, simple things like someone coming to me, they're making the best man speech. They just have not got the confidence to do that. And it's mixing up my previous skills of coaching people and using alongside my sort of hypnotherapy skill to sort of get them in a place where they feel confident enough to present that speech. So I even got the guy to actually write the speech out and practice it in front of me.
Amazing.
And then visualize himself doing it at a time.
You know, it's funny, anybody doing this job will realize after a while, you kind of forget all the hundreds and hundreds of clients you've seen. Sometimes you hear a story, he'll remind you of one of the clients you've seen. You reminded me years ago of a lovely youngish lad who was desperate to meet a girlfriend, and was incredibly shy, like you're the best you had to speak to. And he, you know, I worked with him for several weeks and months. And I remember months later, 6 months later, maybe a year, he wrote to me, inviting me to his wedding, which was lovely. He was completely transformed. So it's lovely when you get something like that and it reminds you of, you know, the work we've done.
I haven't been invited to anyone's wedding yet as a result of my work, but let's hope.
It will happen. Yeah, it's something that happens. In fact, you've also reminded me how often something like 12 million people in the UK have a fear of flying, so it's not uncommon. And I think post-COVID, recently, you know, there are a lot of airplane crashes. I imagine that anxiety is growing, but often we get the call a week before something goes. Yeah. So I would encourage anybody, try and book in at least a couple of months in advance, and we can really help you. Maybe
it's usually quite a few sessions needed to really get that person ready for that flight. In my experience, in the example I gave, it was literally she was going on holiday and
it was somewhere nice.
Yeah, somewhere nice.
Talk me through your approach to hypnosis, because something that strikes me is that whilst it is a kind of a well-known field, everybody does it slightly different. Sure. We all have our own kind of approaches. I know some people will get somebody in hypnosis pretty quick into the session, somebody later, etc. What's your approach? Somebody coming in, what's it like for her?
Well, obviously, first of all, I ask, have they experienced hypnosis or hypnotherapy before? If not, then I explain how it works from my perspective and what hypnosis isn't as well, because there's a lot of myths out there as well.
Could you talk me through that now? What isn't hypnosis?
What isn't hypnosis? So a couple of things. People think that you go to sleep when you're in hypnosis. You don't. You just go very deeply relaxed. And I explain that with an example. When I was being taught to be a hypnotherapist, I hypnotized my first person, a fellow student. She was sat in the chair. She was like this, and she was making a noise. I called one of my tutors over. I said, wow, look, I've hypnotized her, but she's snoring. And my tutor said, no, well done, Gavin, you hypnotized, but she's not snoring, she's purring. To make this distinction, she hasn't gone to sleep. She's gone into a very deep, relaxed state for her, and she's making a relaxed noise for her. But everyone experiences it differently. And that's the beauty of hypnotherapy, and that's the frustration, because I can't tell a client, this is how they're going to experience it, because it's unique.
How do you experience the case of somebody who's gone into a somnambulistic state, where they're so deep that you almost think that it's going to take a while for them to come out?
Yeah, and then you'd say things like, nod your head if you can still hear my voice, and if they can't, then you need to think about, okay, are they still? Occasionally people do go to sleep, because they're just tired and they're relaxed. But the myth is you do go to sleep. There's rest. Yeah.
But the somnambulistic state is quite scary.
Yeah.
It's incredibly deep. Yeah, and they were running out of time. Exactly. And they were enjoying it so much. So you've explained hypnosis to the client.
Yeah.
And what happens next in the session?
So I obviously get their consent to carry on the session and be hypnotized. I then, before we start, I get them to give me some indicators of. So when you're in hypnosis, I need to know that you're imagining what I'm asking you to before we move on.
Yeah.
And I get people to do that by one of two ways. They can either gently nod their head or move a finger on the hand. So I get them to work out what's best for them.
Have you experienced anybody with aphantasia yet?
No.
So aphantasia is, I think it's about 5% of the population have an inability to imagine. They kind of just know.
Yeah.
And they can still, if you've got aphantasia, you can still experience it and get the benefits of hypnosis. But it's you need to, if you're aware you have aphantasia, you have to kind of let a therapist know.
Yeah, so I say to people, when I'm talking about the hypnotherapy, I say, you're going to use your imagination, but everyone's imaginations is different. You might hear, you might see, you might smell, you might feel, you might just sense. Just go with it. You will get there.
If you're watching this now, if I said to you, what colour is your front door? If you had to kind of put your eyes up and imagine, chances are you're a visual person.
Yeah.
If you kind of just know, then possibly you have aphantasia. So what do people feedback to you after their session?
After the first session, generally it's wow, because they go, wow, that was not exactly, but that was how you described it. Because I said at the start, you're going to sit there, you're going to relax, give yourself this time. And it's just like listening to the radio or listening to a podcast, but you just listen to the sound of my voice and let your mind take it where it takes you. I was working with a woman the other day, and when her first time, I re-alerted her, didn't reawaken her because she doesn't go to sleep, re-alerted her. And she said, wow, I feel like a marshmallow. I said, okay, tell me what's that about? I just feel squidgy. I said, okay, right, that's great. Everyone experiences it differently, So I think after the first session, there's a realization that actually it is as I explained. And then what you find then in subsequent sessions, they go deeper, so they relax more.
Yeah.
They engage more with the techniques that you're using, and obviously the changes that they're looking for are more sustainable, and the more deep it arms me.
You have a calming aura, and your voice is incredibly calming.
Yeah.
Have you always been like that, or has that come about?
I've always been like that. I've always been described as laying back. I was doing a talk to a group a couple of weeks ago. I do talks for nothing to schools and organizations to raise the profile of hypnotherapy. And there was a group of us, about 10 of us. And I was about halfway through, and the guy said, I think you're hypnotizing me just with your voice.
Yes.
I said, okay.
And
I wasn't. All I was doing was explaining hypnotherapy. I wasn't doing any hypnosis.
And it's fantastic, going out and giving the talks. I used to love giving talks at shanties every day. What do you do when you give your talks? Do you demonstrate hypnosis, or are you talking about psychology, or?
So it's all about raising the profile of hypnotherapy. My strapline is, hypnotherapy is the therapy of last resort. People try everything else, and they think what's left, and give hypnotherapy a go. Whereas I think it should be one of the top 3 things that people, and I would say that, wouldn't I? But I genuinely believe that.
I created. We had an email recently went out, and it was research into hypnotherapy, and something like 600 sessions of psychotherapy achieved something like a 34% improvement, something like that. Yeah. 6 sessions of hypnosis can attribute to 79% improvement in the clients that research. Yeah. So, and that's just 6 sessions. It is. I often think one of the problems with hypnosis is what Hollywood has presented.
Yeah.
Movies such as Get Out, and there's lots of TV series on Netflix.
Yeah.
Where hypnosis is almost seemed like a mind-controlled tool. And I think I love the fact you're going out and dispelling those myths. Gavin, thank you so much for today, to getting to know you. And if you want to come in and see Gavin, just give us a call at OLIP. He's fantastic, has incredible results. The people that come to work at OLIP are the best at what they do. So when you call us, you're going to get a specialist. And that's what I think sets us apart, because you said to me earlier that you're kind of like a GP of therapy.
Yeah.
Some people really specialize in, but your skills, I think those skills have come massively from your coaching work you've done and working in the corporate world.
Sure.
You are a specialist and so good at so many areas where other people tend to home in. And I think that's a real plus to you to be able to offer that. So, you know, I know you're going to be fully booked with clients over the next few months. So thank you for coming today. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
And we'll have the chat in the future.
Brilliant. Thanks, Nick.